Hi everybody, thank you for coming to my poster today on quantifying bilingual language experience. I'm Jason Gullifer, a postdoc from McGill University, and this is work done in collaboration with many other people. So we know that there are many factors associated with language proficiency, and for people who are bilingual, their ability to control and manage multiple languages. These factors include things like their degree of current language exposure, the timing of language exposure in childhood, and also the degree of language balance throughout the day. According to recent neurocognitive theories, people who routinely engage two or more languages in a balanced manner appear to adapt a set of cognitive processes which may coincide with language proficiency. We recently developed a methodological approach we call language entropy to measure the degree of language balance. Briefly, people who have high language entropy report more balanced use of their languages. Language entropy is associated with many neurocognitive adaptations in line with theoretical predictions, and you can check out my work in the references if you want to see more. However, there are several open questions, of which I'll address 3 today. So first, language entropy and people's sheer exposure to a particular language likely vary by domain or communicative context. We assess this here using factor analysis. Second, there's skepticism about whether self-rated measures align well with objective measures, particularly for things like language proficiency. So we also use factor analysis to assess this here. Finally, we ask whether individual differences in bilingual language experience, like I just outlined, predict things about language proficiency. We assess this with multiple regression. So to answer these questions, we model bilingualism in a multivariate manner using continuous measures to predict language proficiency. This data comes from a sample of French-English bilinguals living in Montreal. We collected information about language exposure across several domains, and we also collected information about subjective language proficiency and objective language proficiency measured by a verbal fluency task. And then we used factor analyses and multiple regression analyses, like I mentioned. So to move quickly to the results, so we found generally that language entropy and L2 exposure did indeed differ depending on a few key domains of language usage, according to factor analyses. So primarily, we see that things load onto factors like internal language usage for using language for things like talking to yourself, thinking about numbers, or thinking generally, versus external factors like language use at work. Moving to language proficiency, in the second language, we found that both objective and subjective measures loaded onto a common factor. However, for the native language, they loaded onto separate factors. This suggests that our bilinguals could accurately self-estimate second language, but not first language proficiency. Lastly, our multiple regression analyses indicated that both language entropy and sheer L2 exposure uniquely predicted L2 proficiency scores. Remember, this is both objective and subjective measures. And only sheer L2 exposure predicted L1 self-rated proficiency. And crucially, no measures were significantly related to objective proficiency. So just to sum up, these results suggest that bilingual language experience differs depending on the domain of investigation, and that our participants could reliably estimate L2 but not L1 proficiency. Finally, continuous measures of language experience were useful in predicting L2 proficiency. In conclusion, bilingualism is a complex and multifaceted phenomenon. Continuous approaches such as these are necessary to capture the full range of individual variation and may be crucial in resolving debates within the field. Thank you.